Hello, Talkin fight fans around the world. Welcome once again to the Friday night panel featuring Christian and Mike. And we have got several keen topics to discuss this Friday night as we lead into the weekend, anticipating, of course, our knockout show on Sunday. But before we go there, let me just do a quick little roundtable, see if anyone wants to explore anything in particular first. How about you, Christian? You got any hot topics?
Well, it's up to you guys if you want. We've got a history lesson if you've got the time, if you've got the curiosity.
Let's
That's
hear
why
it.
we're here. That's why we're here.
Well, this was a good one. This is one that covers a few of the things that we've talked about in the past. Here, it's got everything. It's got gangsters. It's got money. It's got everything. What we're talking about here, and one of the things that we've covered a few times here on the show, has been things like rule changes in boxing is something that we've explored a few times, and that's something else that features in this story as well. So what we're going to talk about tonight, and it's been mentioned on the show here before, is a fight that was known as the long count. Okay, so you actually would have mentioned this one just last week. So this fight was from September 22nd, 1927, and would be Jack Dempsey's last fight. Now, Dempsey had lost his title via points to Gene Tunney a year earlier in front of 120,000 people live. Now, if you remember, that was one of two fights that these guys featured in last week's stories for largest gate crowds of all time in boxing. Okay, so this one, 120,000 people live at the first fight in Philadelphia, and the rematch was scheduled for just about a year later in Chicago, and that would shatter records for Soldier Field and would be the first gate ever to reach over $2 million. So the interesting thing about this fight is a new rule had been instituted for this fight. Previously to this fight, when a boxer had been knocked down, his opponent was permitted to wait nearby, and while the ref was counting. When your opponent gets back up, you were then free to knock him right back down again. This fight was going to be the first one that required a fighter to go to a neutral corner for the count. Neutral corner being corner with no trainers, no coaches in it, for those of you who don't know. So the weird thing is that Dempsey, whose camp had lobbied for this rule, didn't quite get it. And in the seventh round, Dempsey, who was losing at the time, knocked Tunney down, but didn't retreat to the neutral corner. And the ref did take several moments to move Dempsey, allowing Tunney some time to recover. So the official timekeeper noted that Tunney was down for 14 seconds, but was up at the ref's count of 9. A little interesting there. But let's rewind for a second. Let's go back. So 364 days prior, on September 23rd, 1926, Tunney had beaten Dempsey in a 10-round unanimous decision to lift the world heavyweight at Sesquicentennial Stadium in Philadelphia. Now, the first fight between Tunney and Dempsey had been moved out of Chicago, where it had originally been scheduled for, when Dempsey had learned that Al Capone was a big fan of his, and they didn't want Al Capone to have anything to do with the fight. So Capone, for his part in all this here, did reportedly end up betting about $50,000 on Dempsey for the rematch, or just a shade over $750,000 US in today's money, as always using our super accurate Talkin fight maths. So this obviously fueled the false rumors of a fix. Dempsey was favored by the odds makers in both of the fights, actually, largely because of public betting, which heavily tilted the favor towards Dempsey. Now, in the rematch, get on to the actual fight here, Tunney was, by most accounts, dominating the fight from rounds 1 through 6, using a familiar style boxing from the distance while looking for his opportunities and openings, building up a points lead, basically. Right until the end of the 6th, nothing really indicated that this fight was going to end any differently than their first meeting. In round 7, however, in front of 104,943 people in attendance, those people got to see a moment that would live on in boxing history. With Tunney trapped against the ropes and near a corner, Dempsey unleashed a combination of punches that floored the champ. 2 rights and 2 lefts landed on Tunney's chin and staggered him. 4 more punches put him flat on the canvas. Now, this was, as well as the long count of it, this was also the first time that Tunney had ever been knocked down in his career. Now, Tunney would go on to win this in his split decision in one of the most famous bouts of all time. So naturally, controversy promptly erupted over the match. Now, a significant factor in prolonging how long this controversy lasted was the fact that at the time, U.S. law prohibited the transportation of match movies across state lines. Now, that law had been passed in 1912 in reaction to riots that broke out after Jack Johnson's 1910 victory over James J. Jeffries. Now, if anyone looks to hear a little bit more about that one, if you go back in our catalog a little bit, we did cover that fight, I think 3 or 4 weeks back. But it is in there if anyone wants to hear a little bit more about that one. So that fight had been filmed on, though it was banned, though this fight had been filmed, it had been banned in much of the U.S., and as a result, almost nobody was able to actually see these counts for themselves. So once that law was repealed, and I think it was 1940, so it lasted almost 30 years, it became possible for much more people to actually get a hold of this footage and judge the fallen fighters' alertness, for example, particularly Tunney's. And, at that point, the controversy really started to dwindle. To this day, though, boxing fans do argue over whether Dempsey could or should have won that fight. What's not a dispute is, for some reason, the public's affection for Dempsey ended up growing in the wake of his 2 losses to Tunney. It was kind of weird. So the Washington Post's Shirley Povich wrote that in defeat, he gained more stature. He was the loser of the Battle of the Long Count, yet the hero. Because they were wrote poetically at that point. So Tunney had said that he had picked up the ref's count at 2 and could have gotten up at any point after that, preferring to wait until 9 for obvious tactical reasons. And Dempsey said, and for his part, I have no reason not to believe him. Gene's a great guy. Dempsey would later go on to join the U.S. Coast Guard. He and Tunney became really good friends who visited each other frequently. Tunney and Dempsey are both, to this day, members of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And that is today's history lesson.
Bang. Great job, Christian.
The long count. We had money. We had gangsters. We had rule changes. We had everything.
What more could you ask for on a Friday night, right?
There you go.
You know what's funny about that? Or because Mike and I, when we're doing our knockout show on Sunday, try to come up with different names for different, shall we say, variations of the knockout. So there's a new one, the long count.
Long count.
Anyway, that's a good one. Thanks, Christian. That's great. And I didn't realize you had that piece lined up for us.
I always try to have something in the back pocket.
It's interesting. I myself was just skirting through some headlines before while we were waiting to go on the air there, and one of my favorite fighters is Terence Crawford, and he's creating quite a kerfuffle these days in terms of how much money he thinks he should get as a percentage of his anticipated fight between him and Errol Spence. But I thought it was interesting when I did a quick little Google search to see how that argument was coming to fruition or not. But I'm not sure if it's actually been confirmed that he will fight Errol Spence. But I did notice that Manny Pacquiao has chosen Mikey Garcia as opposed to Crawford as his next opponent. And I don't know if that's been confirmed or not either. But I'm just saying, like, it's an interesting series of headlines. And the last one that I noticed was that Sean Porter, another great fighter, has turned down $2 million to fight Crawford. So I kind of hope that the Errol Spence match does take place, but
it needs to happen. That fight definitely needs to happen. I believe that fight will happen over anything else that was just mentioned for sure.
But it is funny. It is funny to watch the discrepancy in the splits. I think Crawford's saying he deserves at least 60, and therefore 60-40. But if Spence doesn't accept, he's going to move it to 70-30, and it's getting closer to 80-20
Yeah, and honestly, it's all about the money at that point with those guys, right? Like they just want the money, man. They want their payday. You can't blame them. They work their ass off.
Careers are not long in this sport, man. You got to as you go pro, you got to make your bank and you got to invest. Like, you can't be spending it quick, and you got to make it as quickly as you can. Not everyone gets a long career, man.
You got to make it. Not everyone gets a long career. You got to make it hot, You got to make it while you're hot and you're a name, and you make the draw. When you bring those people in, that's when you can ask for the big money. Until you're an exciting fighter, it doesn't matter. It's the excitement, man. That's what sells tickets. That's what sells pay-per-views. That's what people want to see. They're not They're not going to watch a guy who, never finishes fights and always goes the distance and can't knock anybody out. Like, that's a boring fight to me. I wouldn't pay to see that crap. I want to see the guy that's going to go in there and swing for the fences and knock the guy's head off. That'll pay to see, and that's what people want to see. So, a lot of these guys, man, they got to step their game up if they want that big money. That's just how it is, man. The guys that are getting the big money are the guys that are producing, doing the big things. So, you can't complain until you're putting people on the mat. Speaking of that,
before you go there, there's another really interesting headline that was circulated and was ridiculed. A writer in Britain proclaimed Lennox Lewis to be the best British heavyweight champion of all time, as opposed to Joshua or Fury, among the newer guys. So it was pretty funny to see the Canadian reaction to that headline. Because
he is our gold medal, right? He is our
boxing gold medal. So it was really funny to say, wait a sec, he wasn't Britain's greatest. But anyway, so just another funny little headline I noticed while cruising.
Well, speaking of people who are losing interest in British boxing, Tyson Fury. Have you been reading about this guy, Mikey? You see what's going on here?
I've been watching his pictures explode.
I've been watching his waistline explode.
So I've got this in front of me. Fury said he has stopped training at this because he doesn't see this fight happening anytime soon. He said, "Am I fighting him in 10 minutes time?" No. So he says, "I've stopped training. I'm doing anywhere between 10 and 12 pints of lager a day at the moment. Not eating and getting all of my calories from alcohol."
That is contrary to another headline I saw. I saw another headline where he goes, "I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it for charity. I'm giving all my money away to all the poor people of the world." That's what he said. Well, I don't know if he said.
Well, again, at the moment, he's got his feet up because the rest of his quote says, "I've done training with no further process. It's just one of those things where I'm chilling out and being a man of leisure during lockdown."
Fair enough.
He's also said that he wants 2 fights this year, though. Okay, he also said he wants 2 fights, and he even included. He said he doesn't care who the second person. He says, well, actually, he said, I don't give a who with. Joe Blogs, Fred Flintstone, Mike Tyson, anybody. I just want to fight this year. And he actually included a possibility of a rematch with Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've definitely
in that as well.
I've definitely heard that. But see, that whole thing with the Deontay Wilder, he's still supposed to honor the third fight in that contract, right? So maybe that's the reason why this whole deal isn't getting done. And he knows that even if the deal gets done with him and Joshua, Deontay Wilder might want to take that, and uphold that crap in court with a lawyer and be like, "Hey man, wait a minute, you didn't honor this contract." So yeah, it's getting drawn out. And realistically, man, these guys are in top fighting shape anyway. You know what? He's got a tire around his waist right now. It'll take him a couple of weeks to get that gone. They'll sit him in the sauna with a sweatsuit and make him drink water and eat friggin' rice or tofu and crap, man, to make him all skinny again. Because he did look good the last time he was out fighting. And yes, I have seen the pictures of him at the beach, which are hilarious, man. He just doesn't give a crap. 12 pints a day.
12. That's what he's claiming is 12 pints a day. It might not be as far off as he thinks, though. Frank Warren, his manager, said he admitted that he knows that Fury's pissed off at this point, but there was a quote from him saying that we've all agreed to announce the news simultaneously, so I can't break a confidence that I've agreed to, but what I can say is that everything is agreed. It's an imminent announcement, and we've got work to do. So coming from Fury's corner there, that sounds like it is moving forward. So we're just waiting on that announcement now.
Everybody wants that to move forward, man. Those are big paydays in that fight for sure. I think the purse is like $100 million or something like that. $100 million? What? That's huge, man. Yeah, that's huge money. So, Fury's just sitting back waiting, man. That's all he's doing.
Was it dollars or pounds?
Yeah, who knows? I bet you it's in pounds.
No, it'll be dollars. It'll be dollars.
Yeah, but
Fury also says he's done fighting in Britain too. Fury says,
that's right.
Yeah, he says I'm only fighting in Vegas from now on. I'm done with these small halls.
Yep.
He wants a big box office draw. Is that it?
Right at the point in time when we can't have
is that
spectators.
So? Is that so? His people can carry him out further on that stupid throne he gets on? You know, acting like Apollo Creed from what was it, Rocky IV?
There are some really good heavyweights lined up though to take over that throne, I must say.
Oh, that's for damn sure, man. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, so he can wag his tongue for as long as he wants, but pretty soon he's going to get knocked off that throne.
Oh yeah, man. I've profiled a few heavyweights, man, that are up and coming, man. Look at Big Baby. We talked about him. He's coming off just knockout after knockout. We got the Beast over in Australia, man. He's another guy that's just a headhunter. The new Mike Tyson. Everybody's calling this guy. Like, there's guys that are there to dish it out, man. So Fury, get at it as long as you can, brother. I respect him as a boxer. He's great. He's got good hand speed, good movement for a guy who's so bloody tall. And he's doing his thing, and I can't wait to see him. Honestly, I'm excited to see him fight Joshua. I think that's going to be a great battle.
Well, Joshua's not looking quite so soft around the middle as Fury these days. He's been keeping up his training a little bit better, I think. That's
true. That's definitely true, and that's probably because of the regulations around the world and what gyms are open and what gyms are not, and so there's some states where we're doing interviews with guys that we've talked, and there's bags and buzzers and bells and crap going on in the background because the gym's fully open. And then you got maybe over in the UK they're not having this
that was the Griffin interview, the guy with the speed bag in the background. Yeah,
definitely right. But yeah, no, there's a card on tonight, man, in Thailand. I can't wait to see. I'm gonna watch after we get off this. It's I'm gonna try to pronounce their names, man. It's Rungvasi and I'm gonna say Sithmorsing. I don't know, man. It's hard to pronounce. I'll learn it when I find out what the knockouts are on it tomorrow. But there's a few good fights on there. I can't wait. I'm gonna be excited to watch this tonight. Definitely.
What weight divisions? What weight divisions are they fighting?
They are. I believe it's Superfly. There's Superfly, and then there's a fight for the Superfly title, the WBC Asian Superfly title, and then there's the junior featherweight and the minimum weight fights tonight, and that's all on DAZN. So I'm going to check that out when we're done here. Another big fight tomorrow night is the David Benavidez and Ellis fight. I can't wait for that card, man. I'm kind of excited to see that. Also, the Estrada and Gonzalez card is on tomorrow night. That's going to be a big one because these rivals are going to be they're going to clash again after battling 8 years ago. And it's for the unification for the WBC, WBA, and Ring Magazine World Super Flyweight titles. So that's going to be an excellent card. And also on that same card, we got the McCaskill and Baracus fight, which is going to be a huge battle for the women. So that's going to be a big money draw and definitely a big excitement for that card for sure. So, you got the Estrada Gonzalez and then the Baracus and McCaskill on that same card. That's going to be huge. And the Benavidez and Ellis, I back Benavidez, man. I've profiled him on my show before, man. The guy's, he's wicked, undefeated, big guy, great hands. Definitely a guy you got to watch. You got to check out that pay-per-view as well. I don't know if it's a pay-per-view or a fight night. I'm not too sure. I think it's Showtime Fight TV is putting it on. So we'll have to definitely check that out. I know there's a lot of fights on these cards. There's a lot of guys that aren't known. So we're probably going to end up with a few pretty good knockouts for Sunday's show. I'm excited to say. Other than that, that's all that's really going on in the boxing world because
we're limited. Shields and Decare.
Pardon me?
Last week, Shields and Decare.
Oh, what about it? I loved it, man. Well, what could I say? Shields came through. She didn't finish in the fifth like I thought she was going to. I give it to Decare, man. She has heart, man. She went the distance. But like I said, man, she didn't have the tools that she needed to be able to come through with that victory, man. That was big. What I was upset about, I'll tell you right now, firsthand, I was upset in the production. The production quality during that event was hands down the worst one I've seen in the last month. Out of watching all these fights, it was poor. It just looked crappy. It looked crappy considering the night before I'm watching a fight that's taking place, on the other side of the world outdoors, and the production was so extravagant and wonderful looking you couldn't even tell that they were outside. And then you look at, Flint, Michigan. Yeah, sure, it's Flint, Michigan. Everybody gives it a bad rap, but come on, man. Your woman is fighting for the undisputed for a second time, and you do her like that by giving her this crappy venue and this crappy production. Their hosts are sitting around a table holding microphones from the 1980s, passing it off to each other. Like it looked like a poor ass. The production looked worse than what we do, man. And this shit was on television, and people paid for it. They didn't do her right, man. Honestly,
that's true. They were even the venue itself. Even if they were allowed to be at capacity, which obviously they weren't.
Right.
I think they said even with floor seating would have had a max capacity of 6,000 people for that place. They were allowed to have 325 people in the. Were able to actually go and see it, or 375 were allowed to see it live and in person.
It was sad, man. Like you could see the boom camera arm hanging over the ring the whole time. Like, you know, it was garbage entrance. It had these gates set up like a friggin' rock concert, man. From, it was ugly. It was just an ugly way to present. First of all, the first female pay-per-view, and second of all, during Women's History Month, and your woman is fighting for the friggin' undisputed for the second. I just felt that they didn't do it right, man. They didn't do her justice. It should have been way more money dumped into that pay-per-view, and they should have backed her a lot more, man, because now that girl is, she's gone down in history as the only person to ever do this, and it should have been done on a way bigger stage. That's my 2 cents.
What about the fight itself, buddy? What about the fight itself? Whoa.
He just
apparently we've lost him.
We gave him the boot. We were talking about it on the Knockout show on Sunday, and we were pleasantly surprised that the Canadian Marie went the distance, but we found her to be outclassed. But
2 different fights happening in the same ring. That's what that was.
Yeah.
The care was all over she was just bouncing the whole time and all over the place. And Shields was almost stock still until she'd strike. It was it just blew my mind to try to watch the two of them in the ring together. Neither one of them knew what the other was doing, because Shields honestly didn't have a great fight because she's not used to southpaws. It was only her second southpaw.
Mike says I'm back. All right, Mike, come on back. So did you see the headline about Claressa Shields not wanting to fight, but being asked if she'd fight Katie Taylor? And she goes, yeah, if you pay me $1 million, I'll lose my butt to fight Katie Taylor. I thought it was funny.
Hey, just the other day, someone asked Tyson what his dream fight would be. Who, if you could fight anybody, who would it be? And he said Mayweather.
Really?
Yeah, and he said, No, they're not planning to. He's saying at any point in time in their prime, you in your prime, them in their prime, who would you want to fight? And he said Mayweather, assuming that they were in the same weight class, of course.
Right.
He wanted to see Mayweather come up to heavyweight. He said he had always wanted to see that. But yeah, so I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world. Iron Mike wants Money Mayweather.
You could have just stopped at money. Mike Tyson wants money.
Well, there's that too.
And that's one of the things that I think happened with Claressa. I think because she demanded a pay-per-view. Do you have to go to the washroom there, Mike? Is that what happened?
No. I think
muted,
somebody secretly didn't like what I was saying about that whole production.
You're on mute. Can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
I can hear you.
You can hear him?
I can.
No, I can't hear him at all. He's not here at all for me.
Well, too bad. That's unfortunate, Christian, but everybody else can hear me.
Anyway, well, Mike, just pop back in. What I was explaining is my theory on the production was because Claressa Shields wanted her own pay-per-view status. I think a lot of the big production companies said, okay, if you're going to be like that, then this is what you're going to get for the kind of money that you're going to put into this. Because you know that none of the big production companies, if they're not going to get a share in revenue, they were charging what, $29, right? $29 for pay-per-view.
It was $29.99 for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so I mean, underpriced herself, probably paid as little as she could, and you get what you pay for in the broadcast business. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyway, that's my theory. Is she stuck to her guns. She wanted pay-per-view. She wanted to make all the money herself. And so when someone said, well, how much do you have to put into this? She said, oh, I got a couple $100,000. So that's what you get. some guy sitting around the table passing around a microphone. And so,
and it's sad, man. She's not getting offered the money either that she should too, right? Like she got offered, what was it, $250,000 by Eddie Hearn to go over and fight friggin' what's her name?
Don't say Katie Taylor.
No.
Because I was telling Christian what Claressa Shields said was she would take $1 million to go fight Katie Taylor. Yeah, but the reason she'd be paid $1 million is to lose her butt. She'd have to lose her butt first in order to fight Katie Taylor. to come down in weight to fight Katie Taylor. I thought that was hilarious. You know what? We talked about it on Sunday. I'd love to see that fight. That would be a great fight.
Definitely. How could you not? How could you not want to see that fight, man? There's a lot of fights out there, man, I wouldn't mind seeing. But it's all, it all comes down to who has to fight when, and what fights are going to make money. It's all that politics and all the sanctioning bodies in the back that just don't allow us to see the fights that we want to see. It's sad. There's always the mandatories. Oh, this is a mandatory. You got to fight this, and then we're gonna miss this fight, and that's why you get these boxers when they end up fighting like, hey, we could have fought in our prime, but now we're not fighting in our prime. It's sad. It's just I wish we could see the fights that we wanted to. I wish the guys could take the fights that they wanted to, man. It's unreal. Christian's just nodding over in the corner agreeing with us. Right, Christian? But yes, definitely, guys. There's fights today, man, in Thailand. Check it out on DAZN. We're definitely going to report on the knockouts from that, and then the Benavidez and Ellis fight, and then the Estrada and Gonzalez. Those are the fights this weekend that we're going to definitely watch and profile on Sunday, and let you know all the knockouts that happen, and we're going to name them. And I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. All righty, that's it for tonight's show. Yep, I think we've done everything. We've done the history lesson. We've recapped last weekend's Claressa Shields fight. We've brought you up to speed as to what's happening this weekend, and we've bounced around some headlines. I think we've done it all, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
works
take us out with your
fight fans. Thanks for tuning in to the Friday Night's Panel. We'll see you next week. Make sure you tune in Sunday to Knuckle Up. Find out our knockout artists of the week. Jab that like, hook, subscribe, knock us out some comments, and we'll see you next week on the Friday Night Panel.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, man.